Good morning. It's February 9th at 9:04 a.m. We will start this work session of the Lake County Commissioners. First up is discussion and direction regarding the Community Builders Climax Grant Request.
So, Community Builders has been working with our planning department and the city's planning departments to do the One Community project and get together a comprehensive plan. One of the items in their contract is that the city will pay a certain amount, we'll pay a certain amount, and that they will contribute a certain amount by fundraising.
Yeah.
So they had reached out to Climax to see about $10,000 worth of funding to put towards wrapping up, this One Community project. Because it's what they've said they would do. When they reached out to Climax said, well, that's great, fine, we don't mind the inquiry, but we only award to local entities. So Community Builders has asked that we would be the one submitting for that grant to Climax for $10,000 to go towards their work on this project, and that was Climax's guidance. I just wanted to check in before we do that. I know it's only $10,000, it's not a huge amount, but because we are going to a community partner who, I don't know, this is outside of their normal grant cycle, and we might want to ask them again. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any strong pushback. The information I saw from Climax, and I didn't get a hold of Nell directly, didn't seem like it was any big issue. It's just like we don't award to people who aren't here. And so that's why we were suggested as the applicant. So I just need to get a little bit of guidance on whether that's something we're interested or feel fine with moving on, or if there's a concern, what is the concern, so I can kind of get that moving forward or not.
How difficult would it be to ping off of Nell just to ask, hey, is this like something that's gonna piss you guys off or not? Like,
I can reach out to her this week and get that sense, but if she didn't have any like, hey, this would be an issue, is there any other issue? Or my thought was, should the city be asking, but also don't want to punt it to another partner without getting a hunch for how you guys feel?
could we ask jointly? Just a dual letterhead or whatever, like, hey, we're getting a really great deal that's gonna benefit the community as a whole.
Can we do 5 and the city does 5?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I needed, is just like a little more direction about how you feel about the request and the approach.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel great about it.
I don't either.
I don't
That's
like,
what I was afraid of.
yeah, and let me
Seems
just,
like an easy ask, and that's why I was like, feels like there's more to
I
program to.
I guess that, this whole thing started before we got here, so I never knew that Community Builders was gonna be asking Climax for the money. I thought they were coming from outside of this community with their own money to bring to the table. And I feel like asking Climax is this thing where we try to be coordinated and intentional as a community, especially for off-cycle requests. And we've been doing this for over a year, so why hasn't it happened on cycle is frustrating to me. I don't wanna have like a relationship with Climax where we're being squirrely buggers.
I agree.
I hate that, and I think that as a community, we've done that a lot, where we just toss requests at them off cycle, and they're trying to have cycled requests, and
They're not the parents, they're not our piggy bank, and now they're getting to it seemed like when I read it, that they can't finish the work without some money, so they've been doing this stuff for a year. The money should be in place, and I really feel like it's like going to your dad and asking for gas money all the time, and then when you need to fix your car, I'm taking Andy's his metaphors, and then when you need new brakes, your dad, it's like, took all the money. I guess, I don't know, that's a good metaphor, but I feel like they should have come to us and said, we need this money to finish, like, first of all, we can't finish. You said we would bring, I feel like the mine should be for capital improvement projects. And not for
Okay.
administrative stuff, which however you guys feel about it, I feel like it's a little bit of a jobs program, that whole thing. It's a little bit
also,
of busy work.
I mean, we have to do it
We have to
legally,
do it.
we have to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's-
that's where I'm at, so no matter what, if they need this to get across the finish line, you know,
They
take,
should ask us.
I agree.
yeah, taking a step back and being like, we knew from the beginning we were getting a really good value for the, you know, the city and the county each
Yeah.
put in what, 40K into this? And normally it costs us 150 to
Yeah.
get a comp plan, so if they need an extra 10K, I'm okay doing that as a county.
Me too.
And ideally splitting it with the city, of like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
let's,
I know that I have heard of other people talking about asking Climax for large capital off-cycle grant requests. And I don't want us to be this community anymore where we're not communicating and we're all going to Climax and
Right.
Yeah.
not coordinating, because I don't want us to have this $10,000 ask, but then like Bright Start has a $500,000 ask and we look like the Clampets, you know?
yeah,
I'm just making that up. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen, I'm
Right.
just saying, I know there are big capital requests out there that are critical for the community, and I wanna be on that team as opposed to
Nickel and dime.
this, whatever this
Yep.
is, I don't like it.
yeah, I agree
What I'm
with you
hearing
guys, you're right.
is, reach out to the city, see if they'll be willing to do 5, we'll do 5.
Yeah.
If the city isn't willing to do anything, we think that we've gotten a good value for the work they provided, it's just a supplemental to pay them the additional 10.
Yeah.
And then encourage them to look for grant funding elsewhere.
Yeah,
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah,
thank you.
that is all I have for that one. We
Okay.
do have other people joining us at 9:30.
Oh, God, quick.
Do you want me to jump to the bottom one that seems like it could go quickly?
Yeah,
Sure, we're gonna call it out. Discussion regarding county classification for Colorado Counties Incorporated.
So we know that you guys would like to look at changing classifications. CCI reached out, asked me, gave me a form to fill out that just was yes, no. And then they came back and said, well, we have to know about what level they're gonna be looking at, and then you guys will have to come back with a resolution. So I need a little bit of a hunch about what level. Are we just stepping up one or more than that? So I'd like to just, if we can have a discussion about, I put in your packet the levels
yeah,
and what other counties are at, so I can tell her, hey, this is what we discussed in a work session, we'll move to resolution. So it's official, but she said that would be enough today for her to go ahead and start to put us on the list of counties that aren't gonna do that. I don't know why they didn't ask for it in their
This is
form.
about getting the sheriff's pay raised.
But she
well-
can't be broken out separately from
Hold
you
on a
guys, I
sec.
did ask.
It's not just the sheriff,
It's all
I
elected
know.
officials.
it's all the elected.
But that was the genesis, that was the seed that got planted, was trying to figure out. And unless we're able to differentiate between, you know, I guess it's just, system's just not built that way, there's no way we can, and there's no other options for us to pay a different payment mechanism outside of, you know, I don't know if it's some kind of like bonus or stipend or something like that, like, I don't even feel comfortable doing this. It doesn't, you know, like Matt touched on it before, that like, how are we even, it feels weird to me that we're even allowed to talk about what essentially boils down to giving ourselves a raise via us trying to do what's right for the sheriff's department.
well, we don't get the
all
raise.
of the
The raise
elected.
doesn't happen while you're in your current
No.
term.
I
Okay.
think it's a broader discussion of if you wanna have qualified people in elected positions, you would have to be able to pay people who could be trained, right? So think about the treasurer, if you want someone with an accounting degree, it would have to be at least somewhat within the range of like someone with an accounting degree could afford to take that position, or the professionalism, the more qualified people are, the more, and I get it, people are elected, you could elect whoever, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll work out that way, but having a little bit more professional level of pay does encourage people who are professionals to actually throw the hat in the ring.
The table's a little bit confusing. I guess the categories, they're 1, 2, and 3. Is that based on population?
Yeah, it
We are
should be.
4B.
It's, population is one of several
I thought
factors
that
that
was
they
the-
consider.
That's the only stuff I've looked at.
So the category,
They look at your tax base,
Okay.
things like that.
so we would still be in the 4 category, and the top of 4 is 4A.
Mm-hmm.
And so-
Well, I think that's the discussion, is where, do you want to request to be 4A, moved up from 4A to 4B? Do you want to stay the same? Do you want to request to be moved up to 3?
But we're in 4B, and so 4A would, for him, would be,
121.
about 10,000. Well, I want to not make this about the sheriff, because I don't want people to get confused that we're doing this. We're doing this for all the elected officials. So I don't know, I don't want to single out the sheriff.
Because we can't, there's no point.
We can't, yeah. So,
You asked the sheriff?
CCI, if there's any
Oh,
opportunity
yeah.
to break out like bands of elected officials, and there is not.
Is there any mechanism that's outside of your salary that could be a
bonus?
We could bonus the
like
sheriff?
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so, because
I don't think so. I think it's, I think if you start doing that, you're gonna have, you're gonna be pitting elected officials against each other, would be my concern. If you
Yeah.
say, well, we're gonna give the sheriff a little more, and then the other elected officials go, well, it's set by statute. So,
Well, and it's like, how much is enough? Also is the tricky part of this.
Right. It's really tricky because we want to help the other elected officials, and then assuming one of us gets reelected, we're inadvertently helping ourselves. Or, it's gonna seem like we're doing this for us.
Well,
I don't really necessarily think that's true,
and it would.
at least for me.
What would be the timeline on something like this? Because there's an election
This year,
in November.
it has to go.
well, I would assume for you, Andy, that probably your next term, if you got reelected, yeah, I'd have to look into it, but I would assume.
I didn't know if this thing would take like a year to put into effect and then,
No,
I
I
could
think
kinda
usually
benefit.
generally bills come into effect in July.
Okay.
Is the general timeline after it passed in the legislative session, so.
You could recuse yourself, or
that's sort of what I'm wondering.
I mean, already the sheriff in every county on every level is paid more than everyone else. So there's that consideration is already built into whatever level. I think it would be good to understand, like, what is the actual, like, if we're arguing appropriateness of professionalism for pay, what is that level? All elected officials in this community are already paid more than most people make in the county. So what is the line of how much is enough?
well, I think we asked to get upgraded one category. And that would be, that would be 4A.
I don't have the, like, argument to do it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, what is the argument of, like, why 4A? Why more than it is now? Like, I don't have the reason yet to to back this, I guess. It's a lot of money already.
In some cases, the staff make considerably more than the elected official.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's some of the positions are really important. And if we wanna have a good successor to the current elected officials, we have to make it attractive. I'm not saying that's my argument, that's the argument that I've heard.
I know, I've heard that too, but I'm just saying, like, why is 4B not enough at $111,000, and why does 121 make it enough?
Because I think we want, especially with certain departments, we wanna attract really good, qualified individuals, where traditionally, I think Lake County has suffered from getting people who are a little underqualified and maybe didn't do the best job, and then from a dollars and cents standpoint, costed us more money in the long run through things that have happened, but lack of professionalism, ineptitude, not being the best candidate for the job, you know? So with the idea that the better quality candidates we can attract, we're going to be running a better operation, we're gonna be possibly having less problems. You know, I mean, especially when you look at a department like the sheriff's department, I do not want someone who couldn't make the cut somewhere else, being like, oh, well, you know what, I'll run for this, and, you know, that'll be alright. I don't know, it feels like it's gonna abstractly save the county money by having better people be attracted to apply. But the part that just really screws this whole thing up for me is that this applies to us too, and I just hate that aspect of it.
So if we were to apply this to like a different, forget the sheriff, if we were to apply it to a different department, let's say ours. Currently, our staff are paid about at $145. So in order to attract more qualified BOCC commissioners, we would want to try to bump it up above what our staff are paid, potentially. To try to attract the people who could be supervising the people.
No, that's a problem, like, I agree that doesn't make sense to me, because we are primarily hired to be representatives of the community, be voices for the people who can't be in this room, make decisions based on those things, and be the, you know, punching bags for people who don't like what we're doing. That isn't as nearly as heavy or as intense of a job as, say, being the sheriff, or, you know, some of the responsibilities that are involved with being a treasurer, or, you know. So I feel like that's where I have the problem with this, is that it has to apply to all of us across the board, cause I don't feel like our pay in these seats is inadequate. I feel like the sheriff's pay is inadequate. You know, someone who's gotta take firearms training and go out and put themselves in, you know, dangerous situations and drive cars going 90-something miles an hour to whatever, you know, like, that seems like a job that should pay more than this. And the way the laws in the state are set up, the only way for us to do that, outside of something really wonky that could introduce all kinds of problems, it sounds like, is this table right here. And I'm frustrated that this is how it has to be, because it's like all or nothing. I don't think we need the all, I think we just need to fix one or two situations.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's an option at all. So it seems self-serving, it'll seem self-serving, but I think we should, if it was up to me, I would ask for one category, step up.
If we were to forget the table, how much do you think our sheriff should be paid?
I would probably I'd need to look at a chart of all their staff, what their staff is paid, what they're getting paid. I'd like to see what other counties Sure, where other, well, I guess I got that right here in front of me, almost like it would be a really complex thing, like if we were able to detach ourselves from this table, it'd be looking at like scope of duties.
Yeah.
You know, how many hours is he spending in the building a week in a patrol car, and you know, how much CE does he have to deal with, you know, like.
Yeah.
But it seems like just the hazards of the job itself doesn't make sense with what I'm looking at in front of me as far as a pay rate, you know.
We do have one of the smallest counties in the state, if not the smallest. Population wise, we're at 10,000. If we looked at.
Population wise, we're at 72.
72 and change,
Yeah.
but we're about in the middle. When you look at some of these counties on the eastern plains that are gigantic compared to us, they are revenue, budget, population, they're way smaller than us. So we're actually kind of in the middle of the pack from what I see on, you know, counties. We might look small, but we are mighty.
So we're not counting the city. When you say 7 and I say 10, the difference is the people in the city.
It's the whole county,
It's only 7.
72, 60 or 80.
It's inverted, it's 27 in the city, 72
Got it.
total county. Ish.
So that should be considered as well. It's unfortunate. Can we ask I mean, some of the counties, the sheriff's making over 200,000, Summit, Weld. Those are big populated counties, Boulder, Eagle.
With
Well,
an
counties that
interstate
could-
running through and, yeah,
Yeah, and their commissioners make 160. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, their clerks and coroners are, but that's a them issue. I'm just, you know, what's going on with us? What can we afford? What can we do? I'm really banging my head against the wall on this because it feels so unethical, and
What part feels unethical?
the fact that we'd be giving ourselves a raise.
Only if you get reelected.
You know, that feels a little more immediate to me than I guess you guys.
It would be.
Well, you could solve that by recusing yourself from any vote.
Yeah, I
And
think I would.
who would settle the tie?
Well, and I'm not asking you to vote, I'm just trying to get a sense of direction,
Right.
because if it seems like you guys aren't on board, then I would reach back out to CCI and
Sure.
say, hey, we're just not gonna do this
Yeah.
year. They just came back and said, I need to know what direction they're trying to go in, because you guys have to come back and do a resolution to make it an official decision.
Right.
this would change Heath's pay for next year.
Assuming we get.
Yeah,
Is he up for?
everybody's up for election except for the two of us.
Oh, wow, okay,
From the DA to the sheriff
Yeah.
to the assessor and coroner.
okay,
So this would change everybody next year, it would change our budget next year.
so since we're in a recorded meeting, I would just like to state on the record that I believe the sheriff is underpaid for the job that he does, and I would support figuring out how to raise the sheriff's pay, but since it would also include this seat's pay, this person sitting in this chair, and that will, you know, I have the option of being in this seat again in less than a year, depending on how an election goes, that I would probably recuse myself from that decision officially. Leave it up to you guys. It's just a little too close for comfort for me.
I feel like I'd be more interested in having this conversation next year. We're really close to an election. And I think that the point of doing this is that it could bring more competitive people out to run for office. And we are now less than a month away from the Democratic and Republican caucuses. And that's not enough time for this to actually make the difference for those seats. So timing wise, it doesn't feel appropriate for us to do it this year if the intention is to try to recruit stronger candidates for elected positions.
That's a good point. If that is the stated intention. It might be a little too late. People who are thinking about running probably aren't gonna be swayed by this
Just to be,
$10,000.
They might be, but not within like 4 weeks to decide if they wanna completely change their lives.
Right.
just
Yeah.
to, add a little caution though, is that, who are we retaining and who might not want to stay, if that's the case?
Totally, but I also feel like it's a pretty high salary for this community already, for all the other elected positions.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I don't know, 83,000 is a lot to be paid to be, I don't know, feels like a lot to be
An
paid.
assessor, a clerk, treasurer, coroner, commissioner,
Yeah, and I do want really strong, strong competitive elections for all of those seats, and I just don't think that we can get it in 4 weeks. It would be less than that, cause we'd have to do the resolution, we'd have to, like, this is just the first conversation about it. But I'm a strong proponent of doing this and trying to have really strong candidates, so I'd be happy to do it in a future year.
I think that's a good compromise.
I do wish we had done it earlier, it would have been great to see it this year, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that, I wished the initial conversation was, or the conversation was initiated a little earlier, cause this came about by department heads, elected people bringing this to our attention, and I don't disagree with them, I just, moving at blazing speed of local government.
Well, it's tough with so much inflation, pressure. There's inflation everywhere, so it's pretty tough to put the family. I disagree with Elsa in that. It's super tough right now. Inflation's just was out of control. It seems like it's a little more tempered now, but 4 years of incredible inflation. It's made it tough, and there's no increase, a lot of people get increases.
Yeah.
So I don't know, 4 years ago, it was plenty of money. Now
Is-
it isn't.
No, they do increase it, they increase the whole table
Oh, they
though,
do.
they don't, Yeah.
Isn't the majority of the state of Colorado's population registered independent?
52% are unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated. So, when it comes to like caucuses and stuff like that, I mean, that is a factor, but it's not the defining factor in my
no, it's not.
eyes.
Could I ask a favor? Could we circle back to this issue at the
Yes.
end?
Yeah, let's get to
We have
Elizabeth.
our other partners on, but Keith, I think, wanted to join for the discussion, and I'm recognizing when we moved it out of
Oh.
order.
Oh, okay,
They
well,
might have
we can
omitted it.
revisit it.
Can I just say one thing, Matt, I totally agree, I don't think that like $83,000 for elected officials is amazing. I'm just saying compared to all the other people that we're trying to serve, it is a lot. So I'm just trying to acknowledge that, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's easy, I don't think that that salary is easy to live on. I just think comparatively, it's important to understand the whole community and what we're paid comparatively.
Isn't our average in this community around 80?
100% AMI is $83,000 for 2 working people
Combined.
combined.
Wow.
100% AMI for 1 working person is 60 something, 64, 65.
Let's, those guys are online and waiting on us. Let's get to that. Agenda item 2.
And then we can circle back. I think Keith is gonna try to join us at 10:30. I apologize, I just don't wanna leave
That's
someone
fine.
out that really wanted to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
All right, Elizabeth and Alan, welcome. Matt, do you
Good
wanna?
morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
so we're gonna move into item number 2, discussion regarding legislative updates with Political Advocacy Incorporated.
Yeah, good morning. I'm going to start us off here. I think it's loud in the Capitol where Elizabeth is. But we are about three weeks into session. It's that typical slower start that we see. Bills have been a little slow to be introduced. Departments have been coming in for their hearings. Committees are just meeting for the first time. But we expect it to start ramping up here pretty soon. The main story continues to be the state budget. As a reminder, the state is about $850 million in the hole. Um, and the Joint Budget Committee will start making some decisions on the budget starting this week in their figure setting process. A lot of these cuts are going to be really, really hard and really painful. And I think the JBC is just starting to wrap their head around that, how difficult this is going to be. The best way to frame it is that we're talking about cutting healthcare for kids with disabilities. That's how what the crisis level is right now. We're watching a couple things at the budget for you all that'll affect the county. One is there is a proposal to cut funding for LPHAs for public health. Also, the CCAP program is now insolvent, so they're having to figure that out. And then there is the CDHS. They have a proposal to start some regionalization for a lot of the administration of things like SNAP and TANF. The Joint Budget Committee is not really happy with this proposal. They've asked the department to come back in and actually explain how this is going to work. But we've been keeping staff informed on all of that, and we'll continue to watch that as that progresses. Elizabeth, what do you want to add there?
Um, I would just add that you're also seeing cuts from the federal level at some of these programs targeted specifically at Colorado, which is really impacting the just unease of how the budget's going to balance because um, Colorado is getting singled out as one of the five Democratic states that the federal government seems to try to continue to withhold funding from. And so the Attorney General is spending a lot of time in lawsuits with the Trump administration.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add
Um,
or any questions?
And when you're ready, we do have a list of the bills you asked us to be prepared to kind of go over. And so if this is a good time to transition into that, we can bring up your bill list.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Great. Let me pull it up too here. So as we've done in the past, we're kind of focusing a lot of our attention on housing and human services, which is kind of the big things. Obviously, we could give you a bill list that's probably 50 bills long, but we're trying to focus in on kind of the core things that are most important to you all. The first bill on the list is House Bill 1001. This is from Representative Basenecker, and it is kind of building upon a bill from last year that they were running. This is something that CCI and others are opposing just on a local control issue for local governments. Honestly, it doesn't really do a whole lot. It's interesting that so much political capital is being spent on this bill. It did pass the House on Friday on third reading. It was on partisan, so it passed, with just by the Democratic votes. And it allows for school districts to potentially have a little bit easier route in order to do affordable housing on their property.
Okay.
So not sure if this is one that you specifically wanted to weigh in on or not. I will say that the school districts are supportive, but they don't think it's going to be life-changing. There was a bill last session that allowed for bonding for school districts for affordable housing and for solar. So from their perspective, they kind of think they can already do this, and they're surprised that this is becoming such a big issue.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Is this also, wasn't this the same bill last year attached to church property or religious? And then they dropped that aspect of it, or?
Ellen, are you able to jump in? I have people talking around me.
Yeah, it's kind of that same thing. They've dropped that part, but this is the Yigbee bill, but without including church.
Yeah. So this goes along with the density that the state's trying to push and smaller communities are pushing back. Does it have anything to do with density, or how does it make it easier? Just permitting, or
Yeah,
bypassing local permitting?
yeah, for this one, if you're on school district property and you want to do some affordable housing, it streamlines and maybe reduces some of the oversight um, and paperwork that would have to be done.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Well, as a builder, I would like to have that too. I'd like to have a carve out, but my initial reaction is that no one should have even the state should not, in my opinion, be able to dictate to local communities density, or they could maybe encourage some things, but I
And
think we,
I think that's exactly CCI and others' argument isn't necessarily this bill per se, but the slippery slope argument of, okay, once we pass something like this, then what's next?
right.
I put it on the list not because I thought we were gonna feel differently about it, but just because everybody's talking about it so much, I was like, we might as well have the conversation in here just so we have it out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And I think part of the conversation is because there isn't as many bills out right now. I think if this bill was out later in the session, it probably wouldn't garner as much attention. It was surprising to us. This is not coming from the school districts. They didn't bring this forward. This came forward from some foundations that are working on it. And so I personally was surprised when this took up like 7 hours of debate time on the House floor last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised it passed so easily. So many people are against it.
Um, The Democrats are really trying to make a stake for affordable housing. It has very good bill sponsors. This is the House number one bill, so that means it has leadership and other priority to get it through the chamber. So it will continue to. I think it'll continue to have partisan support.
The only reason I think that it would be okay is because it looks like it's probably gonna pass. The only reason I feel like it's gonna be okay is because you have to prove, there are a lot of criteria you have to prove to actually get this administrative pass through on projects, and one of them is you have to be a nonprofit that has shown that you're dedicated to affordable housing, like only. So, and you have to have a track record of accomplishing affordable housing. So it's not like anybody can just apply to build on school district land that school district wants to work with. In order to actually get this concession, they have to find somebody to work with who meets all of these criteria, and I don't think that's easy. So I don't think this is gonna be like this huge boom of changing density or pushing through affordable housing, or even if the school districts are gonna have bandwidth to do any of these projects, so I don't, even if it gets through, I'm like, nobody's gonna do this.
I think the fight is over the precedent and the topic and not necessarily what is going to happen on boots on the ground.
Totally, yep, that makes sense.
Is there more specifics on what kind of administrative processes it would circumvent?
We can get that over to you. We have some information on that, so you can read.
Okay, thank you.
The next one on your list is the continuation of the child care contribution tax credit. This is House Bill 1004. This is coming from leadership in both chambers on both sides of the aisle. So pretty good chance it's going to pass. It passed committee 10-0. It will end up in appropriations for quite some time. Lots of groups are supporting this. I think this makes sense for you all to support. What is interesting, however, is, anytime we have these tax credits, then that's less money that's coming in to the state for the overall budget in the state. But this is a taxpayer who makes contributions to promote childcare, and the state is allowed an income tax credit that is equal to 50% of the total value of the contribution. So people are allowed to make contributions on their tax returns and then get that discount from the state.
Okay.
This one I brought up only because I thought it was important that we understand like what is available to our community because we have a lot of childcare issues in this community. And with a lot of funding and mechanisms being taken by the federal government and now potentially by the state, I just think it's important that we know what's being talked about in the legislature that could help our community. It's gonna pass. I voted to support it with CCI, but just wanted y'all to be really aware of it.
Would you all as Lake County like to take an official position on this? It is we always like to also point out when you have your legislators running bills, as you do with this one with Speaker McCluskey.
I would support this.
So would I.
Yeah, me too.
Great. We will list that.
Thank you.
Now the next one, House Bill 1036, this one is all over the map. So this is dealing with local taxes on vacant residential property. So this is saying that if a property is vacant, then you as a county could increase taxes. You can do excise. You can do a number of different things when it comes to the taxing for that property. It allows the local government to create a new property tax classification and allows you to, so it's, and the registration is all over the map on this one. CCAT is supporting, Alan, did CCI take a position on this at the end of the last week? Oh, yes, they did. What did they take? Sorry.
I'm not sure what position they set up to look back.
The commissioner.
We voted to amend, so we could stay at the table.
Okay, so CC, and then you have some cities that are in support, some that are opposing. You have CML supporting, you have CAS supporting, but then you have a lot of counties opposing. This one's really all over the map. I think an amend position makes a lot of sense. Some of the things that we have heard in the Capitol are, what happens if someone is selling their house in an area that can take a long time to sell, and then technically their house could be vacant because it's on the market trying to sell for a long time, and then it gets levied with higher taxes. There's a lot of really interesting conversations, and this one is definitely garnering a lot of conversation down at the Capitol.
I think the conversation at CCI was very much around local control. So people were on board, even if a county had taken a position against, or even if a county would never think to put it on their ballot, they voted to amend because it allows a local government to have their own control as opposed to a state dictated tax or tool. So I think that's one of the main reasons why CCI was ultimately supportive of this. With obviously a lot of considerations and technical issues. I think we've already taken a position on this.
We have, it's 2-1, I'm against it, and Andy and Elsa are for it. I think the administrative costs are gonna be greater than the benefits, and there's gonna be so much technicality, and somebody's gonna have to enforce it. It just sounds like a nightmare, and also it's gonna discourage people from coming and building a second home here, because even if it's a nominal fee, it's still, an attitude that says we don't want you here, we don't want your money. And then the other thing is too, they're already paying taxes. Some of them have the nicer, bigger houses in town, they're already paying taxes and they're not using any services, so. That's my public statement, however, I am outnumbered.
Elizabeth, is this still being, are they still receiving comments this afternoon on this? That's what I heard last.
Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, the carve out for the short-term rentals is interesting, is that from the short-term rental lobby, or how did that, it seems like it's that those two should be lumped in the same category, so.
I think we already have the ability to add fees to short-term rentals. And there's some pretty significant extra costs tacked onto those. What I like about this is that it puts the idea in the hands of the voters and letting the people decide, people in this community, it's their voice that would make the decision ultimately, and that's why I support this, because.
Pretty easy to target people with, rich people, so let's just keep targeting them until we drive them away.
I'm not rich, I told you, I live with this, it's a reality of my life, having an inherited tiny little cabin up north that we pay ridiculous taxes on. But we figure it out because it's a family thing, it's generational. My wife's grandparents built it with their hands, and we're not gonna get rid of it, and it really stretches us thin during, the times we gotta pay the taxes on that place, but their schools and their roads up there are really nice, and, we pay it because.
Anyway, we've already gone through this, we're digressing into
Sorry.
repetitiveness, so let's just move on, I guess,
Well,
unless you wanted to
I
say.
think the
I'm
point
sorry.
is that the reason why I put this on here is because, and I sent that email is because this afternoon is testimony.
Yeah.
So I know that we all feel differently about it and have different reasons for it, so I wanted to make sure, Matt, you especially knew that just because we as a county have voted in this way doesn't mean you can't testify. So that's also why I put it on
Okay, thank you.
Are we
Shall we move
registering
on?
an official position for Lake County on this of support? Okay. We will let our legislators know that. House Bill 1037, which is banning government purchase of personal data from a third party. I don't have a ton about this bill in my head yet. I imagine one of you added it to the list for discussion.
I put it on there, because this session, well, I don't know about before, but I didn't see anything on the previous sessions about trying to regulate any of this. And I feel like as a millennial, I've watched lots of different technologies be completely unregulated, and flock cameras, our personal data, and how it coincides with the county and Fourth Amendment. It's just, I'm grateful that the legislature is even trying to address this, but this bill in particular would be putting the onus and the liability on the county. And CCI.
I'm seeing a private right of action in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Against you all.
CCI, yeah, it's not awesome. But I like the intention. The intention of the bill is to try to put some liability on and guardrails on what personal data you can sell and can't sell, and how you keep it safeguarded. And I love that, because I think it's important for us to be at the forefront of these technologies. And CCI moved to amend it while also sending a letter of, like a values statement letter, really different for CCI. So instead of, technically the bill is a mess, and we definitely don't want it passed. As counties, as CCI, as anybody, this is not a well-written bill yet. But the intention to try to put some guardrails about how these private companies are using our personal data is valuable. So I wanted to make sure you all knew that there are two bills actually that have some attempt to regulate how personal data is shared. And the county nexus right now is like, it's putting it all on us. Anyway, so I just wanted you to know that CCI, which I think had a gut reaction to say, no, this is a bad bill, we're gonna oppose it, they found a way to stay at the table because the intention is good.
Yeah, the intention's good, it's just if we're gonna do it right.
Yeah, so I think that we've had conversations in this room about personal data, about flock cameras, et cetera, and I think it's gonna be complicated, and I'd just like us to keep talking about it in this room so that we can be at the table
That
in the
sounds good.
future.
Yeah.
So I would be, I'd be for amend on this,
Awesome, yeah, me too.
in alignment with CCI.
We will dig in on this per your direction then and get more information on where this is headed. And yeah, it's interesting. When I see Representative Bacon and Representative DeGraff on the same bill, they're kind of two ends of the political spectrum. It always creates for interesting legislation.
I would personally say, like Elizabeth, I wouldn't want you to spend a lot of time on this because technically the bill is really messy. Okay, great.
But just have some touch points so we can keep in touch with staff on what's going on with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
Senate Bill 30. This is coming from your Senator Mark Baisley, and this is regarding the state grant program for Keep Colorado Wild Pass Act that happens, and it's reallocating how the funds are put out. Um, Pretty much everyone seems to be. A lot of people are opposing this bill from the conservation um, and environment communities.
I put this one on here because isn't the point of it to potentially take some of that money and put it towards infrastructure for state parks? Like leading to state parks?
Like
Yeah.
the roads going in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. It's so that you as local governments can access some of the money instead of all of it going to the state parks. Yep.
Yeah, so I know that roads are really important to both of you, and I wanted you all to know what this was trying to target to get more money towards. We don't have any state parks, so it wouldn't necessarily be able to go to us, but it would help other counties support their own infrastructure where they don't actually have a tax base to pull from for that infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I just thought it'd be empathetic to support those counties, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we don't know where the money, like what initiatives the money would be taken from. And that's what I was hoping we could get our lobbyists to be at the table to pay attention to so that we know what the trade-off would be, what would be going to this infrastructure versus what programs or other infrastructure wouldn't be funded.
What are some of the unintended repercussions of moving forward with this? Because, I mean, I sat in that CCI meeting where these other counties were talking about how, you know, the boundary line of the state park, the roads leading up to it are getting all the same traffic, and it's like their roads are nice because they've got the funding, but the county can't keep up with the traffic heading in and out of these parks, and their roads are getting all beat to heck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was like, hey, like help us out, you know, we only have this road to access your park, and we can't keep up on it, you know, it sounded like a really good idea, but I'm curious of why like conservation, well, I guess that makes sense.
because it's not expanding the pool of money.
No, the pie is still the
It's-
same size, it's
Yep.
taking a slice of it out for the county to maintain the road, which means the park ultimately ends up with less money.
Well, something ends up with less money, not
Yeah.
necessarily the park. And they don't know what's gonna end up with less money, and conservation is assuming that it's gonna be them.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no fiscal note on where this money would be taken from, right? Even though it's temporary.
It is in the hearing tomorrow. The fiscal note should be up before the hearing happens tomorrow afternoon. It is in state affairs, and we anticipate it will be killed tomorrow afternoon in state affairs.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, well,
Okay, never mind.
Good point, I guess.
And if it doesn't, we will dig in and give you more information.
Okay, great.
But reading the tea leaves, that is what we are anticipating.
Yeah, those are powerful groups opposed to it, it seems like.
Well, we don't know what would be taken. Yeah, weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it would be
And
cool.
and it's Senate Republican on a bill without a Democrat being sent to state affairs is a pretty clear signal that it's going to die,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
bluntly.
Sorry.
Thank
Sorry, I
you,
didn't
please
know
stand forward
that.
with us,
Thanks
we're short
for,
on time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, always happy to share good news with you all. Um, this next bill is Senate Bill 40. It's Affordable Home Ownership Program. This is another local housing one with the Department of Local Affairs. And it is allowing for households with certain income levels to be able to, this is kind of gets into the AMI conversation you were having earlier when we first jumped on about being able to access through different means affordable housing. There isn't a fiscal note yet, so it's unclear exactly to me initially. Oh, wait, there is. They just put it up. Here it is.
This is 40.
This is
It
the
allows
one.
the division to offer below market rate loans to groups with households equal to 120% of the statewide area median income of the AMI.
I think it'd be great if we could take a position to support this, because this is what
This is what Jackie was.
I tried to get it into the Prop 123 legislation, but they've only wanted to talk about a very specific scope in the Prop 123,
Okay.
but this is the needle thread of, that would pretty much save 10-2. The
Yeah.
issue that we have with 10-2.
Yeah, that,
This
the
would solve
unicorn
that.
issue.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we all support it.
yep.
And Senate Bill 61, this is another kind of one of those reoccurring issues in which you all are required to put notice into local papers, but not everyone has local papers anymore to put notices into. Do you all fall into that category?
We have a local
No.
paper, but I sympathize with those who don't.
Yeah.
Well, the Eagle has drafted this bill, or, yeah, Eagle is the, who's been working on this bill for a really long time.
Eagle County or town?
Eagle County.
Okay.
And
Yep.
they've gotten the Press Association on board with them. They've got the print media on board with this idea.
Oh,
So
Oh, that's huge. That's why it usually fails.
yeah, so that's why I just thought it'd be valuable for us to support a neighbor.
yeah,
And also it opens up the door for us as things get more complicated with print media.
yeah.
We don't have to use it, but just helps
Gives
a
the
lot of
option.
people. Yeah, and I think it'd be just valuable for us to help other people, even if it
Yeah,
doesn't matter to
well,
us.
it just makes sense keeping up with the times. We don't know that our local paper will always be here, you know?
And I think CCI, I'm pretty sure CCI moved to amend that could potentially put this on to the digital platforms for newspapers who had print, but they could potentially put it on their print, on their digital platform as well as on the county website.
I support this.
Cool, I do too.
Perfect. All right, and then the last bill you all wanted us to flag for you is Senate Bill 70. So this is the flock camera situation that we were talking about earlier, where it's prohibiting a local government from accessing a database that reveals an individual or vehicle's location information. I, basically every local government that we've talked to is opposed to this bill. I actually saw Senator Mobley on her way into the building this morning, and she said, "Everyone hates this bill." And I said, "I think they do. Yeah, they all hate it."
Yeah. I just wanted you guys to hear from our lobbyists that there were those two digital privacy bills that came up, and CCI voted to oppose this because it wasn't even close to being able to be on the table of discussion. But there were two attempts.
Yeah.
What, can you just explain again what the bill is, what's the intention of the bill?
So I think the intention of the bill is to limit Big Brother a little bit, right? And to have, if you are within the range of cameras of a local government, not having your information saved and stored and recorded about you. I will say, from a school district perspective, when we talk to them, they're concerned because if there are vehicles that are pacing or flag or looking at the school, they want to be able to keep information on that vehicle, because if it becomes a reoccurring theme, this could be somebody that is looking to potentially be a shooter. And so it's just, to the commissioner's point, I think it's, we're having this balance in a number of bills, and we'll see them with a bunch of artificial intelligence bills this session too, between where's the person's protections of their anonymity and where is the public, and being able to, because we just have so much access to information on people now, that where's that balance of the public good versus a person's privacy.
And again, it's not regulating the industry, it is regulating the government. And that's where I think the failure is with both of these. It's like, the moment that you sign a contract with Flock, they are selling all the information that they're collecting. So banning the government from keeping that information does nothing to actually regulate the Big Brother corporation problem.
Or stop it from getting collected
Yeah,
and sold at a later date.
yeah.
Do you have information on this one car? And they could come back and say, oh yeah, we got that.
Even down to like, what's their favorite fast food restaurant they're stopping by?
That's the information that they're selling.
Can we start targeting them with ads for
Yes.
Good Times Burgers or whatever, like.
Where does this car like to go?
Yeah.
Like that's the part where it's like, yeah, that whole industry should be regulated, and it's running amok, and we have to do something now. But both of these bills are looking at regulating the government as though a local government has any power
Not
over
fixing.
the people that they're contracting with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're both missing the mark by a long shot.
Yeah.
How did CCI address this?
They're gonna oppose,
They're gonna oppose, okay.
cause it was just too messy, and I think they were all tired by that, frankly.
I would go with CCI on this one. I would oppose and encourage a bill that address,
Corporation
the
itself.
part that is running amok, and it's like what would we say, Andy, like a unstoppable locomotive.
No, yeah, it's.
No breaks.
With no brakes.
Yeah.
We need help with this.
Well, that's why I really liked that CCI decided to write a letter of, like, a values statement.
Right.
Because I do think that, like, I want to be at the table trying to get our legislators to actually do something about this, but not in this direction.
Yeah.
So I loved that, as opposed to just being like, yes, no, and then yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
I liked that they were like, okay, this is the one where we're gonna actually try to take a stand as
Yeah.
a group that doesn't always agree, that often doesn't agree.
Well, it's great when you're trying to find bad guys, but when the rest of us are caught up in advertisement schemes and,
Big
you know,
business.
so it's gonna be tough. It's a big issue going forward.
I would also encourage CCI, as you're working on that, to submit that to your federal delegation, because honestly, so much of this has to be addressed at the federal level, and creating this patchwork of what does and does not happen within states is just not going to be sustainable.
Totally.
So that's really cool. They're working on it. Hopefully they send it up to the federal level as well as to the delegation here.
Yeah, I'll bring that up, thanks, Elizabeth.
We can trust those guys at the federal level. do the right thing.
No comment.
Just screaming into the wind.
They'll do the right thing.
Oh, man.
That brings us through the list of bills that you all asked us to take a look at. We will be meeting with your team on Wednesday to kind of go through additional bills that we might want to bring forward for you for next time, but definitely keep us posted on those that you want to specifically call out on your list.
Did we wanna monitor the enhanced red flag bill? What
Oh,
number was
Senate Bill
that?
4.
Is that Senate for?
Yeah, that's Senate Bill 4. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's allowing entities to be a petitioner and not just the individual. Um,
Hmm, that's cool. Can I just ask an example, like could we as a government petition for a red flag?
So a couple of years ago, a number of individuals were added as petitioners that could petition for an ERPO order. Therapists, teachers, principals, and mandatory reporters within local governments could all petition. Honestly, what we told them at the time is that you're probably not going to have a lot of individuals coming forward because therapists, for example, don't want to break that patient-client privilege. Teachers and principals and other mandatory reporters don't need one more reason for someone to be upset with them and to have time to show up in court and do all the things that are needed to follow this through. And a number of entities said, we'll take that on. If we have someone that is employed by us that feels strongly enough about this, and we could take that on. And at the time, the Attorney General's office said that you couldn't do that. They've since changed their mind and said, yes, the mental health center that employs the therapist could be the one to take on the petition. Same with you all as local governments. We've actually seen some case law where this has happened. So it's extending up for those petitioners so that if you had an employee that was worried about retaliation or didn't have time to go to court, then you all would be able to do that. But you'd have to identify someone, your county attorney or someone that would represent you all as that entity within the court process.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to take a position on that?
How did CCI voted to amend? Or did
I don't
CCI
think we-
oppose?
We didn't look at it.
Oh, okay.
Can we do
There's no, yeah.
I don't think I have enough information yet
like a
to-
monitor or something like?
I don't think a lot of
So it's
local governments have taken positions on this yet. I think a lot of people thought maybe this would end up being a big gunfight, and that really hasn't materialized.
So you don't think it's gonna, your gut feeling, the tea leaves say it probably won't move forward, or?
It'll move forward. It's already passed the Senate and it's going to be up in the House. So it's moving forward pretty quickly. What's been surprising to us is typically anything that touches on gun rights usually draws a 10-hour committee hearing, and this was maybe 3. It's just been interesting that this, especially since there isn't as much going on early in the session, it's been interesting to us that it has been kind of under the radar so far. So the main groups opposing this are the Rocky Mountain Gunners Association.
So in essence, if you worked for the school system, you wouldn't have to put your name on this red flag complaint. The school or the government would do that for you.
They could,
So it's
yes.
a two-step process.
Yep. And there were amendments to make sure that there was liability protections for those entities, either for choosing or not choosing. Either way, that you would be protected liability-wise. School districts are required to have a reasonable amount of care. They have a higher standard when it comes to reasonable care for litigation claims. And so there are amendments to make sure that local governments are protected for choosing to participate or choosing not to participate. You can't be sued because you chose not to participate and file a petition and something happened.
The one thing that I'm unclear on is that how often when like an institution or as it is, it has to be an individual, but say you're allowed to put an institution on the petition, just submitting a petition to revoke or put someone in an extreme risk protection order, does that mean a judge is automatically going to approve it, or is it pretty sure, or is there ever a situation where the judge is like, you know, can hear back from the targeted person and be like, okay, like this sounds like you guys have a personal thing against them. This, you know, I don't know, like a petition isn't an automatic, you know,
Revocation.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
kind of
there's still a court hearing and a process that moves forward. I believe you're getting probably beyond my knowledge, but my understanding is it moves pretty quickly because of the urgency. Typically what they have seen is the majority of these petitions have been regarding self-harm and not harm to others. Of people coming in and wanting to remove guns because they're worried about self-harm. That's why minors have been included in this now, because the majority of the cases that they have seen have been against harm to oneself and not to others. They're increasing the different petitioners because over the years, it is pretty rare. There's not very many of these cases that are filed. So that's why they kind of keep adding to the petitioners to see if that increases the amount of petitions that come to the courts.
So it sounds like there's guardrails against abuse, and if there is one abuse case for 900, you know,
yeah, I mean,
real cases, then I would say I'd personally support it.
yeah, if it saves one or two kids' lives, it's worth some people being inconvenienced, you know, as much as, yeah.
And people that are falsely accused have avenues in the court system to fight this, or, you know, so I don't know, it seems like that would definitely be the fear of some of the gun rights groups, is that it would be abused, and it's a valid concern, but probably pretty rare.
I believe the first year that this was put into place, there was only 3 petitions filed in the state.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. Do you want to take a position?
Sure.
Yeah. I support.
Yeah, me too. Were there any others you guys want to talk about?
That was just one of the big ones that jumped out at me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Candace, we probably went beyond our time, so let us know if we need to be quiet.
You're perfect.
We moved through a couple of the items before you a little more quickly than we had planned, so you guys are fine.
We're good. We don't need them for anything else?
It's up to you guys. No, just this presentation.
I'm all set.
Thanks for coming,
Right.
you guys. Good luck down there.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Bye.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright.
Where are we at now? We're gonna jump around back to number 3, discussion regarding monuments and events on the courthouse lawn.
Where's our borough friends?
Well,
We're not talking about that, right? Or are we
All in
specifically
general.
talking about that?
we are gonna talk about it mainly because they've emailed a few times
Okay,
after she's spoken with you. And
Am I allowed to say they wore me down? Let them have it? Yeah.
I want all of them.
My concerns, and we talked about this with Chris, I haven't really got a chance to talk about it with Matt, is that the reason I did not want an additional monument for anything on the courthouse lawn is that what happens when every group is like, well, we're important, we want a monument too, and we have to do this down the line. And my idea that I proposed was that we have a monument space that allows different things to be inserted into it. And that way we can say, hey, so you wanna schedule some time for your monument, here's the dimensions, you gotta, basically have a one monument that could be like a rotating billboard honoring different things, like we could have, it could be a, borough race monument during boom days in the borough races, it could be a 100 series monument during the races, it could be a ski joring monument during ski joring, if they wanted to make the plaque that fits inside the thing. The borough race folks had already had a monument constructed. They had put a lot of work into it, a lot of effort into it. I would love to accommodate them because of the work they'd already done and because before we'd actually had the chance to really thoroughly think it out, we're like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And then we kind of came back and we're like, well, on second thought, this could open the door up for, Fred the plumber, who thinks, his plumbing company has provided such an amazing service to this community that he needs a monument, and everybody gets a rock, basically is the problem.
Or the joy.
Or the joy. It could get messy.
I love a good sculpture garden, I'm gonna stick with it.
But a sculpture garden is a little bit different than what could evolve out of this. So I would love to accommodate the borough folks because of our initial comments. We didn't make an official decision, we just probably are on record somewhere saying, yeah, go ahead. So is there a way to let them run with theirs and then put something in place that puts guardrails up?
I mean, I'll wanna look at it a little closer, obviously, I know we talked about this briefly when I first started. But, you're, when you open something up like that, it's really hard for you to pick and choose what kind of speech you're gonna say is, oh, this is good, this is bad. And invariably, you're gonna get something you disagree with, and it's gonna inflame the community. So I think that's why most people have just shut the door entirely and said, no, we're not gonna allow this, because it's the door you're opening is massive and it's very hard to put guardrails on it.
Is there a way we could open up a space and say, okay, this is limited to?
Well, then you're picking and choosing speech, that's what you can't do.
Yeah, especially if someone says, I want July, and somebody else says, I already called July. What do you think, Elsa?
It's being administratively very challenging to.
Take a lot of time.
Well, that was where we evolved, after it was initially, the problem is that initially we were on board with this. I'm still in spirit and in my heart on board with this, I wanna help these folks out, but we got to thinking and mulling this over and we're like, well, wait, what happens? What's the unintended consequences of this? And that was the biggest concern that we identified is that, I even like Elsa's enthusiasm for having all the things, because it could be really interesting, but it could become really problematic for groundskeeping, from aesthetics, from, blocking people's views. Now we have to come up with all these rules or whose signs are what size, and there's, I can't see Mount Massive because of whatever.
Well, it's gonna invariably put you in the position of judging speech, which is incredibly difficult to do without violating the First Amendment as a government. You're gonna invariably be put in the position of saying yes to this, no to this. How you do that from an administrative perspective, I don't know. I think there's a reason it doesn't get done very often. I think a lot of people have sort of rotating art spaces in communities. I know that gets done, but when you're having a monument to one group or another to elevate somebody's, importance to the community, there may be a way to do that, but I think it really needs to be thoughtful, and if it's something you guys want to consider, I think that's what we're looking for direction, is like, okay, I need to really dig into this from a legal perspective to see if this is something we can do, or if it's something that you can do, but here's the potential can of worms you're opening. And then, I think from the administrative perspective, it's it's certainly gonna be some work on staff if it's a direction you wanna get in,
Well, it seems like a lot of extra work, and the signs, no offense against the borough folks, but the sign wasn't meant to last 100 years. There was some pine boards. So I agree with Matt. I think we were surprised by the rock. The rock never came to us. and
Frickin' rock.
All of a
That
sudden,
one rock.
so just for public record, when we were talking about letting borough folks do their thing, then we got surprised by the rock, and then we were like, oh, we don't know what else has been promised plaque-wise.
What's the rock
You haven't seen it?
The rock,
out front?
Yeah, you walk past it every day, it's
Yeah, that rock.
and that was agreed to by Tim,
by the previous
by the previous
administration.
without any kind of, we don't know. We were just surprised by it. And so we had to, we let that go through, and I think after that, we were like, wait a second.
This is
The
a
lawn-
bigger,
Cause it was 3 weeks before this like huge unveiling ceremony
Yeah.
where family members from all over the country were flying
Flying in.
here for
They'd
this
already-
dedication rock.
They'd already purchased the
And so we were
rock and
like-
the plaque and it was like,
Oh god.
I would be for a ban, except for a 1-day permit. During the borough race, bring your sign out, you can have your sign.
temporary sign
If
or
there's a-
something.
If there's a protest, you can come bring your sign. Maybe it should be treated like a sign for protest. You get your, the grass, I think, is used a lot in the summer. People spread out, there's a tent out there, people eat out there. I really think it's a slippery slope, and if we allow them, we're gonna make them really mad, and I'm sorry, but
It's a slippery slope. I mean, and then I noticed, I remember one time last fall, you had all the flags for all the domestic violence, folks, so I don't know how that was allowed or what the policy was there, what, I mean,
Just something we've always done,
Yeah.
literally decades we've done that.
for DV specifically.
I had an additional item floated by me. It ended up that it never came to you guys, but I do wanna mention it because I feel like it could come up again, and it kind of is in the same vein of, like what memorials are we gonna allow on the lawn? We had a request a while back to have an Alex Preddy memorial. It never got into a formalized request, and also, I think that's where it gets to be like, well, does that, would doing something like that end up with us on the news, and does it bring more attention here? And if you said no to that, well, could you say no to other things in that vein? Or if you said yes to it, what does that mean if someone else wants to do something that is in a different vein that maybe we're all disagreed on? And I think it just gets to that question of what is the criteria for a yes or a no? And that's where I worry that we're gonna get to the point that we're gonna let someone do one thing because we don't have any aversion to it
Yeah.
in this room,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden we're gonna have something that we really have an aversion to, and we're gonna have that issue.
I think it's okay for people to feel strongly about certain things. I think as a county, we need to take a very neutral stance on everything, and that unfortunately, I think that just means a lot of saying no to our space being used as a platform for people to.
this is also gonna have implications for any kind of Christmas decorations, is that right? Or would that be excluded if we have
I mean, it's, my understanding it's the county that puts up the Christmas decorations, right?
Mm-hmm.
what if someone says this, we would have to write an ordinance that carves that, if the county does it?
Oh, Jesus.
And what if we have some kind of other religious symbols or holiday or something? I'm just curious.
Yeah, or someone who comes at us and, this is such a giant can of worms, man.
The advocates thing and the Christmas thing seem like,
I don't know that too many communities that don't put up some form of Christmas
Right.
decorations.
Like, I don't wanna see us get so scared that we can't
Right.
celebrate, but what does this end up being a complaint-based type of thing, and that's when we maybe need to initiate further discussion, or, we're just doing what we can and this moment now to avoid what would draw potential complaints?
Well, I think really staff needs some direction of what you all wanna do. I mean, if you want me to dig in, hey, can we do this? I can certainly dig in and figure out some, but yeah, they're just getting these random requests and they're like, I have no idea what to do with this, you know,
Yeah.
you know, I don't wanna be, you know, as the county manager, it's just, yeah, come in, and then you guys walk in, like, hey, what's this other one? Which
Which is what has,
Which sounds like what happened.
and there's the rock, I mean, apparently the dude was awesome, but we don't know, you know, like, he also brought up a really good point of like, what if there's something really shady in that guy's past, and we've already
He also
approved,
has 3 other plaques around the county.
you know, I'm not saying he wasn't a good guy, but like, and it was just, I guess it was only previous county manager was like, yeah, go ahead. So, you know, at this point, I don't want Candace to have to deal with all the
Defend my
flack,
rocks
but-
on the line.
yeah, like, how many, you know, big obstacle course out there of monuments.
But it feels like when we don't have a policy that's like, here's what we would allow, when we would allow it, when it fits, and so maybe that's the discussion is, do we have a
We need to develop a
items on the
policy.
line policy
Yes.
or whatever it needs to be
Just like
titled?
all county
You know.
property this would apply
Yeah.
to, right? Like, don't we need to take a stance as a county? What is our policy around monuments, memorials, and installations?
Yeah, and if somebody wants to have a protest, you know, what's
Yeah.
that look like? And where is that allowed or not allowed?
Yeah.
I mean, you get into issues of where it's been traditionally held, and, you know, I haven't been here that long, but it seems like traditionally a lot of that happens up front there.
Yeah.
But that's a sidewalk.
That's a
right?
free
On the
speech
sidewalk.
kind of thing, right? Like,
All this is free speech, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
those are 2 different issues though.
Yeah.
really. I mean, I would say unfortunately, no more monuments, because we don't know what the future holds. The political divisiveness in the country generally is, I mean, whoever's sitting here is gonna skew that political speech one way or the other. So I think unfortunately it's time to,
So you can, you know, there's places you can act time, place, and manner restrictions on speech. The issue is they have to be content neutral, which is really difficult, but saying no to everything, that's content neutral. And then you have some areas where they're traditional public forums, like the sidewalk, and it's really hard to, a lot harder to put those sort of time, place, and manner. But it's all free speech.
sure, sure.
there's no delineation between a permanent monument and someone
There is,
protesting?
for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I feel like we should just stay focused on the monument subject and, with that, I would love to be able to accommodate the borough folks with their sign and then
Then close the doors?
because it had already, the ball was already rolling, you know, they had already,
Well, and that might be a reasonable line to draw. It's like, hey, if there's a community event going on, you're, you know, whether it's the borough or, you know, one of the Leadville race series, we have like this space available for this
Very
amount of time.
temporary.
Okay. So what are our next action items on how to develop a policy that kind of fits maybe?
Well, if I got a sense from the board, that's what you all wanna do, is some sort of policy, then I would probably bring it, you know, to develop a policy and bring it back for another work session.
Okay.
But it's you're still going back to the speech, I mean, what if we have a temporary garden for a sign and it's not a commemorative sign for a race, but a political speech or an anti-speech for one side or the other, so is the policy that it can only commemorate a race or a person or, cause if we're commemorating an unpopular president or somebody like that, so it seems to me that we just ban it entirely, and if you wanna ask for a 1-day permit, I mean, what if people wanna protest on the grass, and part of their protest is pitching tents and staying for 30 days on public property, you know? Whereas a blanket ban would say we just don't allow that, the grass is for people to come and go and sit and have lunch, it's not for you to camp on.
Well, I think part of policy would be that it can't inhibit county operations, it can't be burdensome on county staff. You know, I don't know if you can add politically neutral language, you know, it can't be, supporting a, I don't know.
Can I-
opposing-
What if the race series wants to put up a monument? And we have people in the community that hate the race series, you know? It's all political, everything's political. Some people may hate that that this town's known for the race series. Some people love it, some people think that road racing
I don't know, I
is-
think that's part of the conversation we need to have when
We're having it right now.
Yeah,
We're trying to give them some direction, so my personal direction would be, it's just a blanket ban, except for,
That's a very easy policy, right? That's much easier than the alternative.
we're really sorry, but we can't do it, and then the next administration may change their mind and change the policy, but we can't pick and choose who gets to put a permanent monument on our property, on county property.
Takes three to tango, what does everybody else feel here?
My personal aesthetic is collage. Okay, I'm gonna be honest about this. My personal aesthetic is being able to see somebody's bumper stickers that they've been putting on for decades on their car, and you get to see how they've changed as a person. And I'm not gonna like die on this hill, but I'm just gonna be honest. I would rather say yes to everything with the guardrails if it doesn't impinge on county blah 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 operations. And I would rather see like everything happen and then see nothing happen, because I think doing nothing is also an action to take. But I don't care enough to like fight this, so I understand that the conservative way to go would be, let's just say no to everything, then we won't get in trouble. And I would rather see like all of our messiness and see how we've changed as a community over time and be covered in all of the things that we've been, as opposed to just being like this clean ancient brick building. That's where I'm at. Also, we have a lot aesthetically clean. Also, we have a lot of property, so it's not like this is the only place where we have room for stuff. We got a lot of property to move monuments around and move rocks around and put, you know, I think that's cool. Like Sandra was telling us about going to Las Vegas and the sign museum, of all the different signs of old hotels and motels and casinos. And you got to walk through that and you're kind of like walking through history. I love that. And I don't think it's bad to like make statements even if they are disagreeable to some people. That's how I feel. So I'd rather see a policy that says yes to everything.
It's up to you, buddy.
I don't want a middle thing, just to be clear. I see how complicated this is. In my mind, it has to be either all yes or all no. And
Yeah, there's
I'm
no-
not interested in like navigating some maybe path.
How about a moratorium, 2-year moratorium?
Ooh, yes, 4 years. 3 years, Matt, that'll get us off till we're done.
Till your watch has ended.
Yeah.
This is just, we don't have the bandwidth for this right now. I'm gonna err on the side of caution and just I agree with Elsa. I think it would be awesome to be able to honor everyone. I don't think anyone's even gonna come at us like, hey, I want my sign there. Like, it's gonna be, there's so few people who are even gonna want that. That said, the potentiality for complications and issues and headaches for staff that we just, like, we don't have enough on our plate right now. And I've been down there on the curling ice with those folks and I've been talking to them and I'm like, man, I really wanna figure out how to make this happen, but the logic part of my brain is telling me this is a can of worms we don't have the capacity for right now, so.
So that brings us to the advocates, the victims of domestic violence, the Christmas display, and we're gonna make a carve out for things that traditionally happened, I mean, you know, I wouldn't.
But those are not permanent. temporary, I'm not weighing in on temporary, I'm weighing in on people who want permanent monuments on our front yard.
Yeah.
Three
That's,
different
Well, I
policies.
mean, there's, I think they're all kind of part of one policy, you know, and I think probably the temporary speaks to Elsa's point of just having people have sort of their speech zone and, you know, obviously maybe you don't allow hate speech and things that are obvious, but even that requires some level of human judgment, right, of what hate speech is.
But maybe with a time limit. Do those signs need to, just some signs need to be up there all summer, there should be a time limit?
is there a way to like put this in the hands of like the community? If some group of people find something distasteful, they can set up a petition that gets it removed, or like,
I wouldn't
no,
go down.
no,
that road,
okay. Just trying to,
That sounds like a.
There's a girl here.
I'm just brainstorming, throwing stuff at the wall, seeing if
Sorry.
something sticks,
Sorry, no bad comments.
I know.
Yes.
I'm always keen on the idea of letting the community decide things. That was just a thought.
Well, it's an unfortunate situation, but with unforeseeable consequences.
So moratorium on permanent monuments would be the,
Yeah, I think a policy and maybe a lean towards temporary monuments for a certain period of time. One of the planter boxes or an area where you could put a monument, as long as it's not hate speech. Political speech? I guess we can't.
We're a political
Political,
body, we
everything's
gotta,
political, right?
yeah.
On some level.
And what if someone puts up a sign that says recall all the county commissioners and we say,
Bring it.
"No, we don't like that."
just don't put it in the way between me and my office. I don't care if somebody says that, they say it all the time.
Well,
I don't care either,
there's
but-
political speech and then there's, you know, speech that's geared towards people that are running for election or, you know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
there's certain boundaries set up by certain acts
Yeah.
that keep us from promoting or disparaging certain candidates, and, we can't really talk about presidents, or, we can't put signs on our door that are, hey, vote for this person or not that person, or, so I think that would apply to the front lawn as well.
Maybe we have a certain area carved out, it's like, hey, this is the zone where we allow temporary installations.
Yeah.
And it can't be up for more than 30 days.
Can't till the grass, can't be too heavy or, what I mean?
Follow the rules of
Yeah, I
the
don't wanna set too many
Hatch Act,
rules. Yeah, the Hatch
And
Act
also they
obviously
have
has
to
to be
check in
followed.
usually with the city to make sure they're not violating any like
city sign codes.
requirement, even for temporary stuff, we usually have them check in.
Well, that's 2 weeks. So if we just said 2 weeks, then we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that. Also, they don't enforce any of that. I've been in so many meetings about the temporary signs. The code is an appropriate way to say the mess that it is. So whatever, 2 weeks.
Does that give you guys enough direction? Is that
Yes.
clear as mud?
Was
Okay.
it?
I
Now,
guess
I
events-
keep going
events-
down the rabbit hole of maybe.
It sounds like we want some sort of policy, and I can certainly bring back a policy that can go any number of directions based upon further conversation.
Can we check in and see what, sorry, go ahead. Can we check in and see what other counties do?
For sure, yeah.
What about, when it comes to events? Are there any events that don't get permitted that use the lawn? Because because I know that we've done temporary permits for like the race series. And I don't know if we've done a permit with Boom Days. But other than that, since you've got monuments, events and memorials, should we have anything outside of what we already have as a policy for temporary event permits? Would anything need to be built in, or do we need to talk about that?
I don't think so. When I said events, I meant more like the menu request for memorials we get. It might just be good to delineate, if it's our staff member, maybe we're fine to have a memorial. and I hate to use that example, but it's happened several
Yeah.
times, and like maybe that is like an approved memorial and it has to do with our staff directly. But maybe memorials for other things that aren't, I don't know, it seems like there has to be some delineation, because I am getting more and more requests, and I think I'm gonna get more. And I don't want to consistently, I don't know, and then by the time I can check in, it's beyond that point, and then people have just been emailing with no real answer about what they can and can't do.
How's it handled, like with the race series, do they pull a
They
permit?
pull permits.
Or which policy? Okay.
This was just
Special-
temporary,
Special
yeah.
events permit or something?
Yeah.
I think we're envisioning race series, borough racing, but it's gonna devolve into political prisoners, countries. It's just, I can see it devolving where someone says, okay, you put up a picture of this guy, we wanna put up a picture of this guy, and I just think of a blanket ban is where I'm going with it, so. I've said that 3 times. My wife says I repeat myself all the time, so I'm gonna stop. She's not here, I'll speak for her. Do you see what I'm saying? The road that it's gonna go down as the country gets more and more divided?
Well, I think that's why we need to have a policy in place that sets the guardrails.
I personally like that road. I like the road of actually I mean, people being public about things is way better than them keeping it to themselves and not even engaging or talking about it, so I don't know, I don't think that, like, what is the consequence that you're most nervous about, Matt?
I would say if somebody came to town and saw a sign that was political speech on our front lawn, they would say, oh, this town believes this thing. Or
Right.
this town is in favor of this president, and this town is in favor of this party, and that's what I'm afraid of. I don't think it's appropriate for our community property to take a side in political arguments. I think it should be neutral.
I guess, like, let me give an example of a concern I would have. What if someone wants to have Charlie Kirk Memorial on our lawn, and then now someone wants to have an Alex Preddy Memorial,
Yeah.
right? We as a county don't really pick
Yeah.
whatever thing, it's not us, but it's on our lawn, so then it becomes like
Exactly.
us.
Thank you.
And that's where, and that was just like a more recent example, but I could see other things coming up, because people are just incredibly divisive right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm a little unsure of where that line is, so that, something that we would all find offensive, like, sure, people probably don't find something offensive, and we would have something offensive that's not technically hate speech on our lawn.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gonna offend
I
people.
just feel like
For
it
2
gets to be
weeks.
hard.
It's gonna
For 2
read
weeks.
the vandalism.
Yes.
The sheriff's gonna have to get involved. Okay, we have a camera on it because somebody spray painted a mustache on Charlie Kirk or something, so. I just think it's too messy. I don't think we should be spending time on that.
I think it's a responsibility of us to stay neutral on things here in this front yard with respects to all the, so many different opposing views within the community.
Yeah, we're just business only.
Okay, but what about, not a monument, but a memorial, like, where is the room for us to have a memorial for a staff member? Do we go somewhere else to gather as a group?
Memorial for a staff member.
That's a
Yeah.
I think that can that be written in the policy, that if it's about a staff member, it could be.
I mean,
But
I
if it's a
I'd
staff
have to
member's
dig in. I
family,
don't
you
know.
know,
Yeah.
like, I do think that that's really reasonable, and this is a place where the community is represented.
Right.
So to have a space where we can convene and have memorials for our community, this seems like a natural place where people want to gather. It's very public, it just seems like people are naturally inclined to come here. And I wanna make sure that we know that when we're saying no to everything, we are also saying no to that.
No, I
Well-
think that's 2 different issues.
Yeah, I think that we're looking at events versus signage, displays, like, I even see a difference between decorations that don't include any words or anything versus placards and things that are advocating for or against something and.
Well, a
You know.
memorial could also be like candles and teddy bears and a cross, you know,
Sure.
which we've had on this lawn
Yeah.
for staff members.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying no to some things, but making space for this feels really complicated.
it does.
And
We might need a bigger,
I want us to know what we're saying, when we say no, we're saying no to these things.
Okay, I'll amend my no to say that there should be a carve out for temporary tragedy type events, candlelit vigils, and, you know, the advocates should probably have a carve out. I think when I'm saying no, I'm saying no to signs that are up for more than a few hours. Or have a place for signs that we have no control over that reflects on our community, what some people might find offensive, that's all. No one's gonna find a memorial with some teddy bears offensive, I don't think, or a candlelit.
but yet who decides? And that's where we get down that slippery slope again of what's offensive and what's not.
You can hold your nose for 24 hours, 48 hours. If something's up there for a month that says, we hate this person.
I wish it were that easy.
I just think it's two different issues, that's all.
To be fair, when there've been vigils and memorials of that nature that are related to staff.
Yeah.
I also reach out to Heath and make sure someone could be available, it depends also, like, can someone be available in case something comes up, or we've got lots of people, or there's traffic issues. So I will say that when we had those come up, we've definitely had to really check in with multiple people before allowing them, so it does seem like some sort of policy is needed, and maybe there are carve-outs in a policy, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this thing, it raises so many different issues that I really need to dig into it some more.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
Okay.
issues around election laws and what can be posted during
Uh-huh.
election season.
Sure.
I mean, it's, I'm not sure what the courts are gonna think since they're using it too.
Should we circle back on this after doing a little more digging, see what other counties are doing,
Yeah.
see if there's, maybe we could pick the best and ideal things from a few different sources and come up with something that makes sense for us as a community.
I think the impetus for this conversation is the borough sign. I think
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
owe them a decision to not decide or something, so I think we should at least address that part real quick, or
Okay.
as best we can right now.
So for staff, they can just tell anyone requesting, we have a moratorium on anything happening until we've developed a concrete policy.
Is that the right word?
I wouldn't frame it in terms of you're taking action, other than you're directing staff to look at it, which means we can't help you right now. I think
Okay,
that in
great.
itself is
Enough.
enough to say,
Okay.
look, we're looking at this. We can't say yes or no until
Okay,
we have.
something developed, great,
And that's what we can say in 6 ways.
yeah,
We're undecided, we're not a unanimous decision, and we're considering a 4-year moratorium.
Please speak up,
Oh, I'm sorry.
please. I mean, your conversation's just between those 5 people here. I'd like to hear what you're saying
Do you
too.
wanna
Do
come?
you wanna come
Yeah, sit
closer?
up there.
Yeah,
Sit up front.
come be up here with us.
And who's this memorial for?
We're talking about the Borough Race Memorial Monument. Yeah.
Is the Packboro Race Hall of Fame Foundation still in being?
I don't know.
Did you know that there was a Packboro Race Hall of Fame Foundation?
Yep.
Okay, there was.
Nice.
And my husband created the trophy for that foundation
Cool.
that they gave out to the various people that had been involved with the Packboro Race.
And what's your name?
My name is Ruth Perkett.
Ruth, welcome.
I just paid my taxes and I wanted to come and see the people that were going to be spending it. And I was just curious as to what this was all about and who heads up this Packboro Race, who's coming in asking for this.
The request has come from A group of
interest,
people.
yeah, it's a group that's interested in putting a monument out front that celebrates the borough races and their history and legacy in Lake County, and I love that idea. The
Well,
problem
then you got
is,
ski touring people that are gonna come right in on top of that.
that's in the name of equality, and, you know, then all of a sudden, we've got 10 different groups that want a monument as well, so.
Because all of it was established back in the 40s.
Yeah, that's the whole conversation we're having, is who do we say yes to, who do we say no to? What policy do we have so that
I
people,
agree with the gentleman in the middle, it's a hot can of worms.
good to know, thank you.
Because, I even kind of object to the placards that you put out here during the domestic violence thing.
Yeah.
If I were coming into this town and looking at that, I think, boy, I don't know if this is someplace I'd want to raise my children. If there's this, and each one of those, see, it's not explained, is each one of those mark a domestic violence case?
Each one is, yes, worth, sometimes it changes, sometimes they're worth
Over what period of time?
1 year. So they do it annually.
Good Lord,
Yeah,
would you want to raise your family in a town that had that display?
well, we are raising our families in this town.
Well, I understand that, and I've been a victim of domestic violence, I understand all of that.
Yeah.
But anytime you put anything out in front here, it's on display for the whole world to see.
Yeah.
And I think that, the support for the advocates and for the domestic violence awareness, I totally agree with that. But you have to start thinking of how it's perceived by people that just come into town. Because that's part of your economic base now, is bringing the tourists in. And I think real long and hard. I think there's a place, maybe up on the road to Mosquito Pass could be your monument to your Packborough Race Hall of Fame. Yeah, they used to have ski touring out on the north end of Harrison, it wasn't downtown.
That is one thing I wanted to bring up again, thank you, Ruth, is that maybe there's some work we could do to help the borough, like if we're going to say no, is there work we can do to help find another spot for their monument? Because it'd be nice to say no and yes in another.
Offered a few alternative locations,
I didn't want
but
to.
I think, there's
They felt that there was no location that was as appropriate as the lawn.
starting line.
Other options were offered.
Got it.
I think if you look at most courthouse lawns, they're pretty neutral for a reason.
Austere.
Because you're implicitly endorsing whatever's there.
Yeah.
Whether it's boroughs, whether it's domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll dig into it some more, but I suspect most counties are gonna say, we just don't allow anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Ruth, we really appreciate your input. Sorry you couldn't hear the whole discussion, but we kind of went through all this and now we've
I
made
know
this big
Mrs.
circle.
Thorpe, I've met her husband.
Okay,
Now,
I'm Matt Bullock.
Matt Bullock, okay, that name's familiar, and you, sir?
My name's Andrew Lee.
Andrew Lee,
Yes.
okay. Well, at least now I know who's going to be spending my money.
Yeah, nice
We're
to
doing
meet
the
you.
best we
I probably
can.
will be back.
Okay, great.
I've advocated for the senior center, and thank you for the work that you've done up there.
Yeah, thank
Because when I
you.
finally got a line item in your budget, and you hired a coordinator,
Yeah.
you did 100% job for helping us at the senior center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Ruth, if you keep an eye on our calendar, you can come to any public meeting and
Oh,
make
I
a
know.
public comment.
I know, I used to be very active in that.
Oh, okay,
I was
Yeah.
president of the chamber, I was with the
Okay.
economic development people, I was the affordable housing. I spent 35 years in real estate in this town.
oh, okay,
There isn't too much I don't know about Leadville. Plus, I'm 81 years old and I was born here.
okay,
So if you need any history, give me a whistle.
we will.
Thanks,
Thank
Ruth.
you.
Thank you, Ruth. I gotta leave. I've got a health emergency with a family member.
Okay.
Good luck, Andy.
Yeah, I'll have my phone on me.
Yep.
Be back.
Do you want me
Okay.
to take Hazel? No, he's good.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to, Heath, unless you wanted to weigh in on anything from a law enforcement perspective on the courthouse grounds?
I don't know if I'd add much value other than, yeah, there's some extra peacekeeping efforts that come about when we have to do these events and memorials and, as Candy said, but we also wanna, allow people to exercise their constitutional rights, and so it is a very challenging one.
Yeah.
When it comes to, permanent memorials and statues, it's, that's just a personal opinion on what to do there, but from a law enforcement standpoint, yeah, a little extra work when we do things.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll move on to item number 4, discussion regarding county classification for Colorado Counties Incorporated. And we've already kind of discussed this a bit, and I think we can share Andy's perspective. I think we know it well enough, so. I think where we landed was, I was in favor of trying to move us up a classification. Andy was neutral and would probably recuse himself from anything. And Elsa, if you wanted to.
I suggest we do it in a year, because the intention is to try to attract more competitive elections with people with more professional abilities. And I said that since we wouldn't actually take this step until the major party caucuses, that it wouldn't have the effect that we intend, at least within anybody who has a letter next to their name. So I suggested that we do it next year, even though that would miss all of the people who would, everybody except me and Matt. That was just my thought on it.
So I guess I'm a little confused on it affecting the majority, when a majority would be this cycle.
No, the point is that the people who are considering running now. And we're not gonna entice a whole lot of people in a short amount of time by increasing their pay to run for these elected offices. And
It's too late for this cycle, essentially.
I feel like
Last
it,
year would have been the time to
yeah,
address it.
because I think that if people know what their salary is, it takes them more than 3 weeks to consider whether they're gonna completely change their lives.
Yeah.
To run for office. But I know that it would, and Andy and Matt brought up that it would be plenty of time to impact or encourage people who are unaffiliated to run. I was just thinking about the caucuses that come up in 3 weeks.
Right, yeah, it's very short notice.
It's really short notice.
I think, it'd be interesting to see what's happened. My personal experience was I didn't make that decision until March.
Same, totally, same, because nobody else was running.
Right, and it's.
Yeah.
So I think it's not uncommon in this community to maybe expose this as a potential
Yeah,
and think, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while now, this is financially a possibility for me to make this move instead of just completely jumping off the edge like I did.
yeah, totally.
To have a little more comfort that is, I can continue to support my family if this is something, so.
No, that's a good point.
I think it's a good angle to look at, and I
Yeah.
think it's, you're probably correct, except for Lake County, I think there's a lot of exemptions that will not equal that, potential result.
Yeah.
You can see things a little differently, so.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good thought, I didn't think about either.
But to your point, some people might not even make those decisions until they're in those caucus rooms. And if we make the decision now and then get it out there, it could actually have an impact on this election cycle.
Right.
Yeah. I think that it's the two parts of it are making the decision, but then also making the decision really public would have to happen in order for the decision to make a difference. So if we were going to move on this, I would want us to commit to actually publicizing it.
We have to do a resolution pretty immediately,
Absolutely.
and then we could work on getting that information out there.
Making a notice.
Yeah.
It is fun. Public statement.
Proclamation?
No,
No, it's like a press release and
A press release. a press release,
other
Types.
types of.
things,
Yes.
yeah. yeah, it's the making sure that it's public knowledge that I think has to happen if we're gonna do it now, and if we're not gonna do that, then I would wait till next year. Cause I want it to have an impact.
Options are full gas now or steady
Study,
pace
make sure people know
next
so
year.
that they can be ready to run, yeah.
And just so you're aware, CCI reached back out after we said, yeah, we're gonna do this, and they were like, well, then you have to tell us what level. And they're waiting to hear back from me today about which direction we're gonna go, cause they expect that our next move is a resolution and
Yeah.
getting it out there. Is there any need for people to vote on that? CCI didn't explain that to me when they asked about this, but I just wondered,
Like, who to vote on it.
do people have to vote on changes in salaries, or is it just a resolution?
No, it's a statute, so what they're looking for is, do we need to run a bill
Yeah.
through the General
what I
Assembly to change Lake County's classifications? Cause it gets done every year,
Mhm.
counties go up and down, yeah.
Well, we could we could bring it to a public meeting and have the discussion there and vote on it. Instead of deciding here that we're for it or against it, or would that,
I have to let them know the direction we're trying to move in, like now,
okay.
for them to be able to bring it up in time
Yeah.
to make the change you hope to see.
Wouldn't that be making a decision before our next regular meeting, which is not until next Tuesday?
Well, we're directing staff to be in contact with CCI about our general temperature. And then we would actually be voting on the resolution.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to give staff some guidance in a work session.
Unfortunately, there is no guidance. You have 3 different
Right.
opinions, so there's
No, I'm changing my mind. I'm totally fine going for, but only Matt, if you're willing to make sure that we're directing staff to make sure that this is very public once we do the resolution.
Oh, I think it'll be public.
I want us to actually have an active role in making sure that it's public.
You're talking about a press release.
Press release, any media content.
Some work that I've done just on a small level that I think is helpful for direction, instead of just making the sole purpose of recruitment essentially. There's a lot of other reasons to look into, when it comes to just a comparison of where the other Colorado counties are, the current classification on where we're at compared to those counties, and then why are we going to a 4A or we're doing that proper comparison and our due diligence and studying what those numbers are precisely. To me, that's the public information that I would like displayed. Why are we doing this? Well, it's not just for pay raise for elected officials. It's also, it's more appropriate for a county to be in this category. And then we're not overreaching, but like where we're at now, and this is the reason why this came up, was we're way above when it comes to the different markers that are used to determine this, compared to the counties that are in 4B currently. So there's just really no comparison, so it doesn't make sense that we would be bucketed there. So that's, so that would be, to me, some of the work that would be necessary, is just that comparison.
Yeah.
And those numbers are out there, they're easy to find.
In our press release.
Correct.
It may sway some people will not be swayed, and they're gonna be angry, and that is just the way it is.
Yeah.
And
So-
by the way, there's no guarantee that this gets on a bill, right? Or
That it gets passed.
that it gets
Yeah.
passed and approved, so.
I mean,
So
I
the
think,
direction I need is what level, if we're, go ahead and tell them.
I think these are pretty uncontroversial bills, though,
Yeah.
when counties are making a request. I don't think you just run into the political battles that you typically see at the General Assembly. Housekeeping.
Based on the metrics and the numbers that you're speaking of, do you have a preference on what level we would?
Yeah, I think the 4A is a very safe upgrade.
Yeah.
3B is a little overreaching when you compare our numbers, particularly counties in 4B. They're making a little more money than us on all the different aspects of our revenue sources. Populations are a little bigger, so 4A makes the most sense. It's still fairly conservative.
Also, 3A, they've got crazy, 3A is a hodgepodge of counties.
3B would be the next step up from a 4A.
I know, I'm just saying, if you look even one higher than that, 3A has some wild counties in there.
Yeah.
But it's clear that we have markers that are higher than that.
Right,
what
so
I'm
it is, yeah, it seems to be what are we comfortable with?
Yeah.
You know, what is the county comfortable with, and I like to look at it from a number standpoint, and not overreaching. I mean, there's counties, if you just look at population size, like Summit County and Eagle County, Route County, they all went up to 1A. And so it is, they felt comfortable that they can do that, so we did it. It does seem like these are bundled together in a bill, multiple counties making all their movements.
Yeah.
And it does seem like it's a consent agenda type of situation, so, not that it's guaranteed, but it's on the side of it probably will get approved. That would be my initial suggestion. Again, I'm not bringing a ton of numbers for a full proper presentation on all this, on why I think a 4A is appropriate, but just the initial, looking into the different numbers, that's what I feel is most appropriate.
Thank you, Heath.
That's all I needed.
Okay. Does it change the coroner, even the coroner is in kind of a different table?
He's full-time, is that correct? Our coroner? Yeah.
Yes.
He's full-time, okay.
They're all full-time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so are we gonna,
Have we had a conversation about that? Am I remembering we've had a little bit of a conversation about that?
But the coroner,
Yeah, Being a
so
different-
the coroner, by statute, you have the ability to determine whether they're full or part-time.
and is that in the same,
It's totally separate.
Piece of legislation.
Yeah, it's in the statute currently. So this is just changing the classification.
yeah,
So yeah, the coroners would go up as well as every other elected official, but you know, if you wanted to circle back and say, hey, do we really have a full-time coroner here in Lake County, I think that's a different conversation.
and that's a county statute that determines whether they're,
That's a state statute that the counties can use to adjust the coroner's salary.
so then would we also go through CCI to potentially change them from part-time to full-time
No.
to get a,
No.
no, okay.
It's totally within the county to do that.
I thought you just said it was a state statute that
It is a
determines.
state statute.
It's a
It gives
state
you the
statute
ability
that
to
in
do
the
it.
county.
Got it, thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it is,
Oh my
it is listed
God.
out part-time or full-time, so when you make that decision, you can look at those numbers and say, oh, he's part-time, he makes that much, or he's full-time, he makes that much, and that's what statute requires.
Thank you. My brain stopped working.
okay, well, we have 3 minutes. We're 3 minutes ahead of schedule.
That's it, that's all I had.
Well, thanks for coming, Heath. Thank you all for being here. It is 11:11 and we'll wrap up this work session of the Lake County Commissioners.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Heath.